Do you think it was inevitable that this name was going to come out?
Yes, I think it's been. A lot of people knew the name yesterday. Clearly, most people in the BBC did, and it was only a matter of time. And I've every sympathy with Huw Edwards' wife, Vicky Flynn, and you're under severe media pressure to act in a way which is both properly informative and dignified. And I think that is what she's done. And Hugh's issues with mental health have been well known for many years, his problems with depression. Now we know that he's got other behavioural issues. The police tell us that there's nothing criminal involved. To be honest, I have not the faintest idea what a BBC investigation is meant to be. I had no idea until recently that there was such a thing as a BBC investigations unit. Sounds pretty sinister to me, but hopefully that will all now be quickly closed down, and Huw will be allowed to recover his health. And once he is back to full health, no doubt he and Tim Davie at the BBC will discuss what, if any, his future at the BBC will be.
You say that you think the idea of a BBC investigations unit is sinister. I just wondered if I could unpick that a bit. Some would say, isn't it right that the BBC has a process where if you have a concern about a public figure, someone's paid for by the taxpayer, that you should be able to complain about that and raise your concerns?
And what are the BBC meant to do?
Investigate?
Well, yesterday, a Guardian journalist was saying they should inspect his phone. I mean, what are we living in? Romania?
Well, you would think, just to come in, you would think maybe they would go and talk to him. That would be the first step, wouldn't it, in an investigation?
No, because if at every point... listen, the original allegations, whoever it was who heard the complaint, it was told that the police had refused to get involved. So what would the BBC do? Hold a criminal investigation itself? I just don't understand. I've never known of any broadcaster with an internal investigations unit. It's the Stasi at Broadcasting House. In the 1950s, the BBC had a connection with Special Branch, in which anyone who was thought to have left-wing views had a little Christmas tree attached to their personal file so that they wouldn't be promoted too high within the BBC. But this is on another level, and I would hope that the first thing that Tim Davie does is shut this unit down.
Is the only bar criminal, though?
Well, obviously, if you've got people fiddling their expenses, the finance department will be onto them, and then the legal department will be onto them. But the BBC rightly has investigative journalists, but the notion that it has a dedicated unit investigating its own staff's behaviour, that's the invasion of privacy issue that I would be concerned about in all of this. It's wrong and it shouldn't be happening. And I hope that nobody takes this so-called investigation any further.
Do you think that Huw Edwards should keep his job then?
It's possible. We all have difficulties in life. We go through phases of being overstressed. Fergal Keynes explained his mental health issues. A number of broadcasters, especially those exposed to high-pressure situations, war zones and so forth, take months off work and then come back. Now, obviously, if Huw Edwards wants to come back to the BBC, especially in so prominent a role as he's currently been occupying, he will need to have a very frank talk with Tim Davie and the news department senior management to establish the parameters of what he should or shouldn't be doing. And by then we will know exactly what was involved here. In my view, there's no inherent bar to him returning to work. It may be that he prefers to return, if he returns at all, to a lower profile job.
I just want to have a look at the statement from Vicky Flynn, Huw Edwards' wife. As you say, a very dignified statement. She says that Huw is suffering from serious mental health issues and that the events of the last few days are worse than matters. She goes on to say that he's now receiving inpatient hospital care where he'll stay for the foreseeable future. Do you feel sorry for him?
Immensely. I mean, he's obviously had a lot of difficulties. The expression of his problems has gone down some strange routes by the sound of things. And his engagements online with third parties, unwise, or as Philip Schofield would say, inappropriate, but almost certainly not criminal. These expressions of mental torment and mental ill health, any psychiatrist would tell you they're not unusual, they're not atypical. The problem is that he wasn't getting constant medical checkups and care where he could talk through what was going through his mind and his emotions with a professional. And it's come out in this way, and someone has gone to the Sun, and it's turned into this big issue. The most important thing, Sophie, that we should remember about this, it's been talked about as a BBC scandal. It is not a BBC scandal. It so happens that Huw works at the BBC in one of the most high-profile positions. But that's not the BBC's fault. They've done nothing wrong other than to turn this into some kind of BBC investigation issue, which was wholly misguided.
But I guess just to put the alternative point of view there, what some would say is that the BBC has created this issue because if they had taken the concerns of the mother and the stepfather seriously, the original complaint, they wouldn't have had to go to the Sun. If they'd spoken to them, if they'd spoken to Huw Edwards, the argument, I guess, goes that they could have been avoided.
Look, are you seriously suggesting that on the basis of a complaint from a mother and stepfather rejected by their son as rubbish, they should have suspended Huw Edwards?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they could have talked to the parties, couldn't they? They could have spoken to the parties involved.
They tried to, as far as I know.
Huw Edwards, did they?
Look, where were they? There's lots of questions I'd like to ask the parties involved. How long have you known about this? How do you know about the £35,000? Where did all that come from? Why haven't you done anything about it until now? Where is the actual so-called victim here? Why are you coming to us? And what do you expect us to do? See, I don't think it's any job of a broadcaster to investigate the private life of its employees. If you've got 22,000 employees, as the BBC does have, there will be some strange and aberrant and inappropriate behaviour and no doubt some criminality at times. That is not the BBC's issue. The BBC should wait and see what emerges, and then if someone looks to them as an employee for help, can I take 3 months off? Can I take 6 months off? That's an internal HR matter. But, the notion that the BBC should be investigating the private lives of its employees is obnoxious.
OK, thank you very much for being on the programme this evening and speaking so forcefully about the statement and the fallout from this story. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie.